Today we are going to be building straight on up. Today we're going to be dying in 11 different ways. Number 1. So we're going to use all the cobblestone here. So we're going to do 11 ways to die. So we are pretty high now. Oh yeah guys, today we're going to be looking into this true story, scary emotions. Let go, boy. So here we go.
Hey guys, it's the Grim Raider here. Quickly before the video starts, I'd like to introduce you guys to Amino Apps, our sponsor for this video. They're basically a really cool app that has hundreds of different communities, and they have a new stories feature. It's a bit like Instagram stories, but much longer, and they stay there for as long as you want. I'll actually be creating stories and videos for them, which will be directly uploaded to my account on Amino app. My first story is already uploaded on the app, and it's a short tutorial of how I make these animations. If you want to have a peek at how I make these animations and maybe get inspired to do your own animations,
come on,
then please go ahead and check out my story on Amino app. It's the first link in the description box below. I'll be uploading more stories and other content on Amino app, so yeah, follow me there via the first link in the description.
So today we're going to be doing True Unexplained Video Horror Story Animated, True Insane Neighbor Horror Story Animated. I almost got killed by a serial killer and made it. Let go, girl. True Story Unexplained.
I was a total video game addict. I would play it
Guys, I need a blanket. No, I'm recording. Okay, love you. One second. Alright, bye. Sure, I'll text you. Dear Army, so yeah, this is lit. I don't know if you can see this, but look at that. So you'll let go.
day till night. Of course, my mom hated the fact that I always focused on games and not so much on the important stuff. She would always hide my phone so that I wouldn't be able to use it. Every time she confiscated my phone, I was swallowed by boredom. I didn't have anything to do when I couldn't play. Sometimes, if I had free time, I would try to find the spot where my mom hid my phone. But I always failed. But the only thing I knew for sure was that she hid my phone in one specific room. A room with a lot of cabinets filled with stuff and junk, which made it really hard to find my phone. One day, when my mom hid my phone again, I suddenly came up with an idea. I asked myself why I hadn't thought of secretly recording her to see where she hid my phone, so that when she was finally done hiding it somewhere, I could go inside and watch the footage. Then, I could finally get my phone back for good. So, I finally got my phone back, mainly because I needed it for means of communication while in school. Once I got home, I purposely made my mother annoyed until she confiscated it from me. And that's exactly what she did. But before she confiscated it, I quickly put the camera inside the room when she didn't notice. I put the camera in the corner of the room so that I could see everything. I was really excited to know where her secret hiding place was. Finally, she came out of the room, which meant she finished hiding it. When she was finally gone, I went inside the room and grabbed my camera. I quickly played the video. At first, I looked at the duration of the video. It was 7 minutes long. It must have taken a lot of time for her to hide it. I started to skip until I could see my mom inside the room. I skipped for about 6 minutes, but she still wasn't shown on the screen. I was confused. But I told myself that maybe it happened in the first 3 minutes and I missed it. I went to the beginning of the footage again, but failed to find it. I was growing impatient. I played the whole video even though it was long. I finally reached the last few minutes of the video, where I went inside the room to get the camera, but my mother was still not shown. really confused. Why wasn't she in the video? But I was clearly in the video when I came in to get the camera. I was getting pretty scared at that point. In person, I saw my mom enter and exit the room with my own 2 eyes. Maybe the camera failed to capture it, but that's impossible.
Maybe
My mom noticed that I was quieter than before. I was stressed and my eyebrows were furrowed. My mom asked me what was wrong. I got my camera and showed her the footage. I explained it to her as well. She said that maybe the camera cut out the footage, but something was really wrong here. I asked her if she did in fact enter the room, and of course she answered yes. I felt goosebumps all over my skin, and I was still confused. This might not be the best scary story I have, but it is still running through my mind.
Oh, you mean
What happened? Why is my mom not in the footage? The thing is that in the video, the door opened. But my mom wasn't in the footage. That's the scariest part.
Alright, so we're going on to the next true story, scary animation. Before we continue, I want you to hit that subscribe button, hit that notifications bell. Do us all a favor and, just...
When I was 8 years old, I used to live in my grandma's house in Ecuador.
Oh, I saw this
Many
one,
of the
guys.
neighbors would talk to
I'm
my
going
parents
cut
about
out
seeing
that.
weird
They said
stuff in the house,
some
like
point, 'cause
shadows moving around the windows when we weren't home.
Terrified
The first thing that would come to our heads was that someone must have broken into the house. But nothing would ever be missing. Of course, they didn't think that there was someone breaking in. They were sure that our house was haunted. Everyone even refused to come inside for parties or any other special occasion. They told us to get a priest and to get rid of any bad spirits. We didn't take their warnings as something important because my parents don't believe in those kinds of things. Although
Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I can't do this. Okay, we're doing this.
would hear someone going up the stairs at night. Our stairs were really old, so they would make a loud sound when someone would step on them. However, when I checked, there was nothing. I would just run to my bed and cover my head with the sheets until I fell asleep. One night, someone started knocking on the door really hard and screaming. We got really scared as it was 12:30 a.m. and everyone was asleep by then in our neighborhood. It was extremely rare that someone would be up at that time. My dad took his shotgun and told my mom and me to stay in my room and not move. I was scared for my dad's safety, but I felt relieved when my dad said my neighbor's name. He informed us that a water pipe had broke in our backyard and the water was spraying his house and broke one of his windows. He was nice about the situation and even said he'd help us fix the pipe. My dad got the shovels, as the pipes were underground, and we had to dig to see what was wrong and how we could fix it. As we started digging, they realized that they needed other materials, and they went to get it, leaving me alone in the backyard. There was barely any light back there. The only source of light we had was the moon, and one light post a block away from my house. I was pissed off. I mean, how could they leave an 8-year-old boy there by himself in the dark? But I didn't say anything about it. About 10 minutes had gone by since they left, and I was wondering what was taking them so long. They were only getting some materials after all. But as I was going to go back inside, I saw something moving really fast at the corner of my eye. I froze. I wanted to run, but I couldn't. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. All I could do was move my eyes. I started to freak out, looking around to see what the hell was running around me. I didn't see anything. It was as if there was nothing there at all. But then I looked to my right, and I saw something that haunts me to this very day. It was a demon, in my opinion. It was so tall, around 7 or 8 feet tall. It had long, skinny legs with a really buff body. It also had very long spiral horns, and his eyes shined in the dark. I still couldn't move. The thing ran by me, looked at me, but it didn't do anything to me. It just looked at me. It could have been a goat or a sheep. I've never seen one so big or one that walks on two legs like a human. It ran, and I hid behind a big tree by my neighbor's house. Finally, I could move. I yelled at the top of my lungs while crying hysterically. My dad came running with his shotgun in hand and asked me what was wrong. I explained what I saw to him, but he didn't believe me, nor did my mom. But someone did. My neighbor told me that he thought nothing happened to me because I'm a kid. As time passed, I slowly got over it. I moved from that house and moved to New York. My grandparents sold the house, and I left that experience in the past. However, that's not where this story ends. In my sophomore year in high school, I had a nightmare. The thing that I saw that night was in it this time. I could only see its head as it was hiding behind the big tree. He said 3 words that'll haunt me until my time comes. It said, "You can't hide." I woke up from my nightmare and headed to school. While in school, at around 12:30 p.m., there was an announcement. A classmate of mine had been killed in front of my school by a car without brakes. I turned pale as I thought my nightmare may have something to do with the incident. I was scared and even went home early. I told my parents about it, but this time they took me to a priest and he said he'd give me something in 3 days. Every single day I had the same nightmare until my priest gave me a blessed cross. And I haven't had any nightmares about the thing anymore. However, every night I sleep with the covers over my head. Call me a coward or anything you want, but the thing still hasn't left my mind. Those 3 words haunt me till this day, making me wonder when I will forget or move on from the thing.
Wait, you crush, boy. You know no demons can't get you if you have a Bible. Jeremy, it's Deercraft's guide to avoiding demons. You need a Bible. You need a cross. You need a Bible. You need
I'm 21 years old now. This happened to my uncle when I was around 9 years old.
And you know what you also
My uncle was living in our house and was staying at our vacant guest room up on the 2nd floor.
Lying down on the floor.
He's my dad's cousin, so he was really close to our family. My uncle was a morning person. He would always get up at around 4 a.m., drink coffee, and run morning errands around the house. He also told us that he could see and feel ghosts because he has a third eye. And to give you a little background on our house, it was the very first house that was built on our street. We could sometimes feel something moving around our house, especially at night, but we never really paid attention to it. One morning, my uncle woke up at his usual time, around 4 a.m. He left his room, which was right beside the staircase, saw my older sister.
You don't go up at 4 a.m., 3 a.m., or 12 a.m. Those are the times you never go 12 p.m.
Who was 17 years old at that time, going up the stairs with a cup of coffee in her hand. The weird thing was, he said that my sister was looking down and not showing her face the whole time. He greeted her with, "Good morning, and why are you up so early?" He said my sister just kept walking up while looking down and ignoring him. My uncle felt awkward as my sister just walked past him. He ignored it, thinking my sister was in a really bad mood. He thought she probably stayed up late studying or something. My uncle went down to grab a cup of coffee when he saw my mother in the living room, ironing some clothes.
My office is new.
My uncle was confused about why my mother was up at 4 a.m. and ironing clothes. He tried to talk to her and asked the same thing he asked my sister. "Why are you up so early?" He noticed that my mother was wearing the same clothes from the night before she went to bed, so he knew it was her. To his surprise, my mother ignored him. My mother never ignored anyone, which is why he found it strange. My mother was just looking down as she kept ironing. That's when my uncle knew something was off. He knew something was very wrong here. He rushed back upstairs to his room, locked the door, turned off the lights, and tried to go back to sleep. He tried to forget about it and woke up again a few hours later. It was around 10 a.m. in the morning when he talked to my mother and my sister about what happened. They said they were asleep the whole night, and they don't recall waking up at 4 a.m. My uncle was so shocked about what he had just experienced. Someone was copying my mother and sister earlier that morning. I was so scared at that time. I became so paranoid that I might feel or see something odd in our house, but I tried not to think about it too much. The night after that situation, my uncle woke up at around 3 a.m. He felt something at the end of his bed, and he saw a woman with long hair sitting there. My uncle froze for a while. He didn't know what to do. He was trembling when he said, "Go away." My uncle hid under his blankets. After a few minutes, which felt like hours, he looked at the same spot where he saw the woman, and she was gone. My uncle slept with the lights on that night. After that experience, he thankfully didn't experience anything like it ever again.
Teacher, I believe I've used all my sick days, so I'm calling in dead. Oh, girl. All right.
It was April 1st, 2001. I was at home watching TV when I heard a big bang on my back door. I didn't know who or what it was. Thought it was a raccoon or something, so I kept watching TV. I will never forget what I heard.
Yeah, a raccoon's gonna be playing the drums like a freaking AC/DC going. I swear, I feel like I feel like my pep ball after his first cup of coffee. There you go, boy.
Someone whispered, "I am coming for you." I turned to see who it was, but no one was there. I went outside and yelled, "Who's there?" I went back inside, and then I saw it. It was a man with a white rabbit mask holding a kitchen knife. I ran to the kitchen and grabbed a knife and turned on the light. The guy took off his mask, and it was my friend, Fred. I was relieved, and he yelled, "April Fools!" I asked how he managed to get so far when he whispered in my ear. He looked confused. To my surprise, he said, "I never whispered in your ear." That's when I knew something was in my house. I told Fred to hide and call the cops. When the cops got there, they saw a man with long black hair robbing stuff from my house. He had a pistol and some pocket knives. The cops told me he had broke out of prison a couple days before the incident.
No.
Back then, my brother...
Well, that's gonna end it for watching True Story Scary Animations Part 2. Be sure to like today's video and... Oh, yeah, I got shivers. I got the shivers, I got the goosebumps. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. So anyways, yeah, guys, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notifications bell. Be sure to comment down below, what do you want to see me react to next? So in the meantime, dear army, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notifications bell, and peace.